Hi, it's Barry Campbell at HBC. That's Highland Baptist Church in Redmond, Oregon. And just as a pastor, I want to talk to you for a few minutes today about something that we call burnout. Burnout's really a pretty simple thing. It just means that you're empty. Burnout occurs when you just give or work or serve. It can be for pastors, but it could also be for people serving in the church, and it could even be in your workplace or even in your home. Burnout can take place when you give and give or work and work until you're just empty and all your reserves are gone. So first, I'd like to give you some danger signals. Here's some ways that you can, and by the way, I'm using a little book I wrote several years ago called Toolbox for Busy Pastors. And here's just some tips, some ways that you could recognize where the burnout might be occurring in your own life. First, if your devotional life is suffering. And we're talking about your time with the Lord. If your time with the Lord is going down, or you're not spending that time, you're just so busy you don't have time to spend some time with the Lord, that's one of the keys. That's one of the tips that burnout may be happening in your life. Same thing about your family life. Your lifetime, your time with your family time. You just find it really hard to even find time or carve out time. We use that term to spend time with family. Well, if you don't have time for your family, something's wrong, isn't it? And so that's an indication of burnout. And then sometimes you get just that nagging sense that you're behind all the time. You know, you wake up feeling like, oh man, I'm so behind today. Go to bed thinking, wow, I wish I'd done some other things today. That nagging sense that you're always behind. And here's a tough one. We call it a low threshold for inconvenience. What we mean by that is some things begin to bug you that really shouldn't bug you. You know, something happens that's just simple and it just drives you crazy. You feel like you're being really inconvenienced when actually it's just kind of normal life. A low threshold for inconvenience. That's one of the ways we recognize that burnout might be happening. Your physical ailments are increasing. You know, you get those aches and pains, and yeah, some of that's a part of life, part of aging, but you get those aches and pains where there's really not a good legitimate reason. Then that's a warning sign. Hey, burnout. I'm kind of running low on my reserves, kind of running low on my energy. Here's a big one. If that sense of serving God with gladness is gone in your life, whether you're a pastor or you're a life group leader or serving in some other way in the church, if you're serving the Lord and it doesn't bring joy into your life, something's wrong. And that may be an indication that you're running low on your reserves. You know, you're just really empty in terms of your spiritual life, your emotional life, your physical reserves. You're just kind of running on empty. And then finally, you fight kind of a desire to run away from the will of God. I know we have some pastors that tune in sometimes to this. And pastors, if you're looking at those times in your life where you just feel like, I got to get away from this, man. I'm so empty. I got to run. I'll go do something else for a living. If that's happening, you know that God's called you to be a pastor, but you just feel like you have to run away from that. Hey, you're empty. Something's wrong on the inside. Now let's talk just for a second about some ways that we can recover from that, the road to recovery. The first step to recovering from burnout is to recognize that you can't fix this. This is a spiritual thing. You're going to need God's help. And you know, there's a really positive side to that. Recognizing that you don't have the power to fix everything is really a good, mature spiritual approach to say, okay, Lord, I'm really going to need your help with this. And I recognize that I'm empty. I recognize that I'm really burning out here, and I need your help, God. And so spending some time in prayer about that. And another one is we call it embrace the pain, don't fight it. And what I mean by that is don't pretend that everything is okay when everything's not okay. But to recognize, man, I'm really hurting today. Maybe that's a sign. You know, you look at the other signs of burnout, recognize, boy, something's going on in my life. I'm just really empty. Something's wrong. To embrace that, and by that I mean, when I say embrace it, I mean don't pretend that it's not there. Find a safe place to share what's going on in your life. I really want to emphasize safe place. If you're experiencing burnout, you're going to need a safe place, someone to share with, but be sure it's someone that you can trust. And the corollary to that is don't share your feelings with an unsafe group. For example, there's a group or a person. There's some people in your life. I'm going to use the word wounders, W-O-U-N-D-E-R. there are some people that have a tendency to wound you. You know what I mean? Sometimes you hang out with a person, you feel refreshed and restored. Some other people, you hang out with them, maybe you need to spend some time with them if you're investing in them, but they wound you just about every time you're with them. Don't share these feelings of burnout with a wounder in your life. Get that? Does that make sense? And I think it's really important to find not only a person, but some kind of a trusted group to share with. If you're at HBC and you're experiencing burnout, your life group is the perfect place to share with a group that trusts you, a group that you can trust them, and it's a group where you'll find you can ask some questions and answer. People can pray for you. People can come around you. A life group is a great place to share your feelings of burnout. If you're a pastor, then you probably need to find some group of pastors to share your feelings of burnout with. Most people who are not pastors don't understand what pastors go through. No offense, HBC folks, you're wonderful, but you probably need to have someone who's a pastor that really gets it, that really can understand kind of what you're going through. Okay, here's the key. If you're burned out, it means you're empty, your resources are depleted. Find a way to feed your weakened spirit. What is it that nourishes you? Now, I've shared about burnout a lot of times, and there is kind of a default spiritual answer. And that default spiritual answer is, well, if I want to feed my wounded spirit, my weakened spirit, then I need to spend more time in praying and in the Word. Yes, absolutely. Okay, now let's do that. Now I want you to take another step in kind of evaluating. How can I recharge my batteries? How can I rebuild when I've been depleted, when I'm empty? Maybe it's a walk. Maybe it's a date night with your spouse. Maybe it's going out to breakfast and checking the headlines on your cell phone. Maybe it's a time where you take a half day and do a little mini vacation. You go to a waterfall or something. Marcy and I love to go to waterfalls. What is it that feeds you? What is it that nourishes you? What is it that, maybe there's a person, that, hey, when I hang out with this person, I just feel so fed, nourished. Maybe there's a person in your life or a place in your life, but find some way. Just think about what feeds me, what nourishes me, what recharges me, and do some of that. Also, remember to eat healthy meals and to rest at night. That's huge. Physical rest. I'm going to be preaching the next few weeks on Elijah. And boy, that last message on Elijah where he's so discouraged. He's a classic case of burnout. What does he do? God feeds him and God tells him to sleep, tells him to rest. So just that physical nourishment and that physical rest are hugely important. One more, stop violating the Sabbath principle. That's kind of straightforward, isn't it? Stop violating the Sabbath principle. If you're burned out, then you're not getting the Sabbath rest that you need. If you're a pastor, you can't do that on Sunday. That's why we call it the Sabbath principle. But if you're not a pastor, you need to find a way to, on that Sabbath day, to rest and get that physical rest that you need. God gave us a Sabbath principle for a reason. And the reason he gave it to us was so that he knows we're going to get empty, we're going to get depleted, and we need to recharge. So if you're experiencing burnout, I thought these tips might be helpful to you. Thank you. God bless you. Have a great day.